saying that the U.S.-backed militias will not allow Syrian government forces to cross the Euphrates River. So this is basically the U.S. unilaterally, and in violation of international law, the U.S. is trying to prevent the Syrian government from reclaiming its own territory. Because there is no Kurdistan yet. That is Syrian territory that they're on right now. Now, the Syrians themselves are very optimistic. A senior general with Iran's Islamic Revolution Guards Corps is saying that Takfiri Daesh terror group will be gone in 2 months' time. This is from Major General Qasem Soleimani, who commands the IRGC's Quds Force. And he's saying Iran, Russia, Syria, and Iraq will hold this celebration in 2 months' time. I think he's pretty much accurate, barring an unprovoked nuclear attack by the United States or something. Now, as that caller mentioned, there was this little bit of a kerfuffle where the U.S.-backed Syrian militants tried to capture these 29 Russian soldiers to embarrass the Russian government. And the 29 Russian soldiers held out, firefight for their very lives until the Spetsnaz reached them, at which point the Spetsnaz just really took care of business. 850 of the rebels killed, along with tanks, buildings, warehouses, all kinds of stuff. Just utter devastation. And today, they had a postscript. A Russian submarine launched a barrage of Caliber cruise missiles at the positions of the foreign-sponsored and Takfiri Jabhat Fatah al-Sham, previously known as the Nusra Front militant group in Syria's northwestern province of Idlib, and just destroyed them only a few days after the extremists attacked the unit of Russian military police in the crisis-hit country, the 29. And by the way, have you noticed those Caliber cruise missiles seem to always hit what they're aimed at, unlike the U.S. Tomahawks Trump sent into that Syrian airbase? Now, as I mentioned before, Israel has again fired on Damascus, and they're saying as their excuse that it's Syrian missile defense fired on an aircraft, most likely a drone. Well, if you don't want to have your aircraft fired on, stay out of other people's countries. But Israel's got this same arrogant attitude as the United States. We can go wherever we want, and you are wrong for refusing us. And again, Israeli jets are firing from over Lebanese airspace, knowing the Syrians can't fire back without risking harm to Lebanon. Now, this has prompted the Lebanese president to go to the UN and say Israel continues to violate Lebanon's sovereignty. It goes on to say that Israel has never respected Lebanon or its regional neighbors. I think that's pretty obvious. Israel's a rogue nation. So is the United States. It's what we get for hanging out with them so much. By the way, little interesting story. MI5 estimates that 850 Brits have gone to Iraq and Syria to fight for Islamic State. Half have returned to Britain. Not one of them has been charged with a war crime or deported. So that's very revealing about Britain's real agenda with all of this. Now, as you know, Russia has been very concerned over the fact that American helicopters keep evacuating the ISIS leaders, just as the Syrian army is about to close on in. And now Russia is concerned about how all of a sudden these ISIS leaders are showing up now in Afghanistan, courtesy of these unidentified helicopters, quote, end quote. So they're moving them up to Afghanistan because they need to find a reason to escalate Afghanistan. We've been in war at Afghanistan for 16 years. The American people are sick and tired of it. What are we going to get? Oh, ISIS is in Afghanistan. We have to go back into Afghanistan now. Kiss your children goodbye. Kiss your money goodbye. The wars are going forward. We'll be right back after these few words.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap, but did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
It's time for you to have your own custom smartphone app for your business and pay way less than you can imagine. Introducing the I Can Get To Silent Salesman mobile marketing app, a global mobile marketing and communication tool for your business. Go to appsapart.com and learn how you could earn up to $36,351 or more per month just by inviting 2 people or less into a $14.95 per month program. Go to appsapart.com and be sure to watch the video at the top of the site and listen to the audio message from the CEO near the bottom. This is something you won't want to miss. Go to appsapart.com now or call 646-860-9540. That's 646-860-9540. Get the I Can Get To. That's ICANGET, the number 2, Silent Salesman app at appsapart.com. That's APPSAPART.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. Now, the United Nations Security Council is warning against the Kurdish independence referendum. And even though the UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights says they have the right to do that, the Security Council is concerned that a new Kurdistan is going to be destabilizing to the region, which is already unstable enough. You have got Turkey, which is adamant that no part of Turkish soil will be part of the new Kurdistan. They've already got troops and armor down there on the border. Iraq is saying they will not allow a new Kurdistan because they see it as a new Israel, and they've already got their hands full with the one that they've got. And it doesn't help that you have all these Israeli flags being waved back and forth every time there's a rally for Kurdish independence, or that Netanyahu is already committed to sending 200,000 Israelis of Kurdish descent to the new Kurdistan once it is formed. So the Security Council is right. This could just start up the wars all over again, and we're trying to get these things shut down. Now, as you know, over in Yemen, there's been a huge amount of suffering, starvation, cholera, the blockade. It's a real mess. Saudi Arabia is in there. acting as a U.S. proxy to slap those people of Yemen down and say, look, when we give you a puppet government, you learn to love it and obey it. But other players are involved there, and apparently, as it turns out, a campaign group, research group, is saying that British weapons companies have made over 6 billion with a B pounds just on the war in Yemen. So, now, little kudos, tip of the hat, to German weapons manufacturer Heckler & Koch. They are now saying they will no longer sell guns into war zones or to any parties that are breaching democratic standards, and the two that they are already refusing to sell any more weapons to are now Israel and Saudi Arabia. And I'm sure Israel's going to be out there screaming, you're a bunch of anti-Semites, you're a bunch of Jew haters, because H&K make really nice weapons. If you're a gun enthusiast, they are very, very good weapons. They're very, very well made. Now, meanwhile, 4 Palestinian human rights organizations have gone up to The Hague and handed in 700 pages of evidence of Israeli war crimes and crimes against humanity. And they're doing this because, in part, there are 2 more Palestinian communities in the West Bank that are about to be totally demolished by Israel. And remember, the West Bank is considered occupied territory, and Israel, under international law, is not allowed to just go on in and scrape off the villages to make way for more of their Jews-only illegal settlements. Unfortunately, I think The Hague is probably just as corrupted by Israel as anybody else, but at least the Palestinians are trying to play by the rules. We'll be right back.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Most basic diseases are caused by yeast in the gut and metals in the liver, and we all have a bit of both. The garlic in Extendivite has a yeast-killing effect in the gut while also helping the sulfur enzyme in the liver get rid of the metals. Extendivite just may improve your overall health. Products like Extendivite are the only way we are going to get our society healthy. And if you're waiting for the government and pharmaceutical care to solve your health problems, you're going to have a long, disappointing wait, I think. Extendivite is a complete formula for extended life in the new millennium. 80 can be the new 60. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we are just now getting word down in Puerto Rico. Evacuation orders have been issued for an area in northwestern Puerto Rico. Apparently, the Gujataca Dam appears to be failing under the pressure of water accumulated from Hurricane Maria. The reservoir was built in 1929 by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It's located between the municipalities of Quabradilas, San Sebastian, and Isabela. Those poor people, it just never really seems to stop. All right, let's grab ourselves a phone call. Peter in Los Angeles, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I'm looking at a email I got from a blog called If Americans Knew. I think you probably know about it. But,
very much so.
And I'll just read off a couple of the headlines. ADL campus guide describes how to block events about Palestine. German government supports a new Israel-centric definition of anti-Semitism. Progressive Illinois candidate kicked off ticket for Israel views. Israel advocate Richard Goldberg writes a memo pushing Trump to destabilize Iran. Congress and White House to give Israel an additional $75 million. Then there's one about how Israel is disabling Palestinian teenagers by shooting them in the knees.
Yes.
I wanted to go over all this stuff, and you know, when we talk about people like Arnon Milchan, the guy who helped smuggle the nuclear triggers out, who's an American citizen, and the organized effort to suborn Congress, it's pretty easy to say that a lot of it doesn't even border on, because there's spies selling secrets too. It's treasonous, quite a bit of it. But what I want to go one step further and say, when you have organized group of treasonous people taking orders from a foreign government, I would tell you that very easily meets the definition of fifth column.
Or at the very least, a subversive group.
Well, that's what a fifth column is.
Yes.
Of course, especially, in favor of another country against our own interests. So I just wanted to make that point. I have a hard time with I finally got my sister to say that half of the stuff done by the Israeli lobby is treasonous, where she actually used the word treason. But she won't use the word fifth column. And I don't know why not, because it's exactly what it is. If there's an organized group of people on behalf of another country engaged in treason on the orders of a foreign government, it's a fifth column. So at any rate, I just wanted to make that point. I'm so...
Well, you know,
what do you think about it?
Well, no, obviously you're right. We've covered a lot of those stories here at whatreallyhappened.com. I find it very interesting that Valerie Plame went out and linked to that article that came out a few days ago about how America's Jews are pushing this war policy. And, of course, everybody's screaming, oh, you're an anti-Semite, you're a Jew hater, you want Hitler to come back and gas the Jewish babies in the oven, which is what they always say, and we're sick and tired of hearing about it. But it's clear to me now that more and more Americans are willing to basically say what they can see with their own eyes, and being called anti-Semite or Jew hater just isn't an effective deterrent anymore, because Israel has overused it. They've burned it out. Nobody cares anymore. It's lost its shock value. You know, I come out with an article and somebody...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll come out with an article. We'll talk about, some of the doubts about the official story of the history of World War II, and somebody to say, oh, you're an anti-Semite. And my reaction is, okay, if that's what you want to think, I don't care anymore.
Well, of course, it's their definition of anti-Semite, right?
Well, their definition of anti-Semite is anybody who challenges the government of Israel. And that's ridiculous. That's like trying to defend the crimes of the Nazis by saying, well, you just hate the German people.
Well, Mike, it's when you have a group of people taking orders from a foreign government trying to subvert the First Amendment and suborning Congress and so on and so forth. It's not a stretch at all to say this is a fifth column. And the next step is, we're already about to go to war with Iran. We've already been in Lebanon. We're already, we've been in Iraq 3 times. We've been to Libya. At what point are we going to stand up, call a spade, and do something about this treasonous crap?
Well, let me ask you one more question. Did it ever occur to you that maybe Jewish interests were playing these same games in Germany in the 1920s and 1930s? And that was what led to the extreme hostility of the German people, which, of course, Adolf Hitler tapped into. I mean, if you go back and you look at the history, at Jewish history, stretching back 2,000, 3,000 years. It is nothing but an endless chain of expulsions, persecutions, pogroms, and the only common factor in all of that is how the Jewish people treat others around them. There's no other common factor. We're not always dealing with Christian governments. We're not always dealing with Muslim governments. The only common factor is this inability to integrate into their society where they're living, and more importantly, this tendency to treat everybody around them as a target, as prey. And, of course, that's going to create a lot of hostility. The same thing happened with the Roma people, the Gypsies. And look what ultimately happened to them. They're scattered to the winds right now.
Well, Mike, when you talk about the Jewish people always talk about how the Poles acquiesced and the Ukrainians acquiesced and the Belarusians acquiesced to the whatever happened in World War II. And then you think about what is being done here when 1.7 or 2% of the population controls the media, the banks, absolutely owns Congress, on and on and on, and how with mature institutions in a country of 330 million people, we've got 2% of the population able to exert this control. Think what that was in Poland in 1920, after they were just created after World War I, or the Ukraine, or Germany for that matter, with immature democracies, immature institutions, and far fewer people. And yeah, you can see exactly what went on there.
Yes. And
they can do it here. They can do it anywhere.
Well, the thing is, every place that they have done it throughout history, there's always a backflash, and it winds up very, very bad for the Jewish people, even those who are not actually part of that fifth column. And yet, Israel, because of their religion, I guess, are unable to look at their own flaws and failings the same way that Hillary can't. It's always the fault of everybody else around them. And as long as they keep playing these same games, they're going to keep winding up in the same messes. It's been happening for 2,000 years. It's going to go on happening for another 1,000 years until Israel decides to move into the modern age and start treating other nations with the respect that these other nations deserve. But as long as Israel's government continues to behave like a Bronze Age warrior tribe, they're going to keep causing trouble for everybody around them. I mean, I can understand why John F. Kennedy didn't want them to get nuclear weapons.
Well, Mike, I can. We've had this discussion before, and we all know that's not all Jews doing this.
No,
it's a small percentage of the 2.7% of our population. However, they're the ones with all the money and the influence. And on the other hand, the others are accessories because they're silent. They allow it to happen. They allow people to lose their jobs and to get.
That's actually rooted in their religion. It is absolutely forbidden to criticize a fellow Jew, and that restraint is why so many of them stay silent. And again, we're talking about the actions of a few individuals in Israel's government and those who are basically, they're signing them here in the United States of America, dual citizens, turncoats like McCain and Graham, who truly believe Israel first. But again, anytime somebody starts to say all Jews this, all Jews that, even in Hollywood, I have to come back and say, no, I've known some Jews who were really splendid people, and I keep going on back to Renee Valente, who was an absolute treasure, and I miss her dearly. But she was Jewish, and she was honorable, and she was upright, and she got taken advantage of by other Jews in the industry. And I got to see that firsthand when I was working with her on the TV movie remake of Valley of the Dolls. And one of the studio executives came on in and used our production budget to basically launder some money that he just walked off the lot with. And so not much loyalty there. Anyway, Peter, we're going to let you go. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I've had, I spent years in the military, and you don't run into very many Jewish people in the military, and that's for somebody who's put in 30 years there. However, there are, like my very best friend, Even though I spent 30 years, I wish that I had accomplished that I had a record like this guy in the Marine Corps did. And there's a lot of people, but they get the self-hating Jew thing hurled at them, and they're shouted down as well. But I would tell you the people who remain silent, the Jews who remain silent about this, are accessories to the crime.
Well, more than that, by staying silent, they're going to catch some of the flack when there is a flashback. And part of the problem is that Israel, in trying to portray that it represents all the world's Jewish people, then the hostility that is generated by the actions of Israel's government gets transferred to all the world's Jewish people. Israel's government is setting up the world's Jewish people to be targets when there is an eventual backflash.
They'll deserve it.
I see your point about not speaking out, and I have that same problem with the Germans in World War II Germany, and they suffered greatly for their failure to speak on out. But I draw the line at saying that just because they're silent, that they deserve some kind of harm and punishment. I'd like them to speak on out, but again, freedom of speech means the freedom to shut up when you want to.
Well, I disagree with that, Mike.
Okay,
but
that's fine.
Your point.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I hear your point. But thanks, Mike, for the forum, and I appreciate your being there, man.
All right, we're going to let you go here, and we're going to do a shout-out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network here. Now, Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas, during his turn at the podium at the United Nations, called for an end to apartheid for the Palestinians. And he basically described the government of Israel as an apartheid regime, which it certainly is. And Abbas said, we are entrusted and you are entrusted to end apartheid in Palestine. And he said, can the world accept an apartheid regime in the 21st century? Unfortunately, sadly, it appears they can as long as it's Israel. Now, over in Germany, Schroeder is out there saying that maybe deploying all these soldiers along the border with Russia is sending the wrong signal. He's saying, obviously, Russia, from the Russian perspective, NATO is trying to build a circle from Turkey through South and Central Eastern Europe up to the Baltic Sea. Yes, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And he's saying the deployment of German soldiers on the Russian border is a completely false signal, even though there's no direct threat to Russia. Well, ultimately there will be. Remember when Russia was having their war games in Belarus, and the corporate media was, they're really getting ready to invade Europe. They're going to invade Europe. We have to send more troops on they're getting ready to invade Europe. This is a replay of the 1950s Cold War. Russia's coming to invade Europe. They never did it. They never did it. And again, common sense. Why would Putin want to invade Europe? It's bankrupt. Its society is tearing apart under the burden of immigration. It's all of its resources are already mined out. Putin's got enough problems taking care of Russia. He doesn't need to take on Europe's as well. Same thing for the United States. Nobody is coming to invade the United States of America because it's a mess. Who would want it other than Hillary Clinton? Now, following that fanning up of the Korean foreign minister's comment about maybe there might be a hydrogen bomb, the stock market took a bit of a tumble, and gold shot up over 1,300. So let's see how the stock market ended up today. Did they have No, the Dow did not have their traditional Friday happy ending, despite all the massaging from the plunge protection team here. Now, as another sign that the rest of the world is really getting fed up with the U.S. and its foreign policy, Austria just signed a landmark funding deal with Iran. Austria's Oberbank yesterday signed a major finance deal with over a dozen Iranian banks, thus becoming one of the first European financial institutions to break the ice in providing loans for Iranian projects after the removal of sanctions against the country in early 2016. Of course, the problem is that the U.S. government is now putting all those sanctions back. Again, proving you cannot believe a thing they say. The deal was Iran would stop its nuclear weapons program. The sanctions would be removed. Iran stopped its nuclear program. It shipped its enriched uranium to Russia. The IAEA says they're fully in compliance. The U.S. not only did not remove all of the sanctions, they started adding new ones, and they're adding new ones now. Again, the message to the rest of the world is clear. Don't make a deal with the U.S. government. You will get screwed. That's the lesson we got from Libya. It's the lesson we got from Syria. It's the lesson we got from Iraq. It's the lesson we're getting from Iran. The U.S. government does not honor its commitments. Now, Nikki Haley is out there saying that the U.S. is not ruling out a possible oil embargo on Venezuela to try and exacerbate their economic hardship even more. We're not going to buy Venezuela's oil. Well, two things are going to happen. Other countries are probably going to buy Venezuela's oil, and oil and gas prices here in the United States are going to go up. Does that sound like a good plan to you? Doesn't to me. But again, I don't know if it's prescription antidepressants or lead pipes in Washington, D.C. The quality of strategic thinking coming out of Washington, D.C. is appallingly bad. It's like they're thinking in terms of sound bites. This sounds good. Let's go with it. Let's think it through. There might be a problem. No. Wait, this is the public's going to love this. They're going to eat this up. Now, in response to Amazon, everybody's like trying to demonize Amazon for the retail Mageddon, but as that caller correctly pointed out, Amazon, as well as they are doing, is really just a tiny, tiny percentage of the total retail economy. But everybody's out there saying, we've got to do something about Amazon. And so Walmart is starting to test a service where you will order your groceries from Walmart, and they're partnering with a company called August Home, which is a provider of smart locks and smart home accessories. And the way this works is you would order all your groceries, or they'd be ordered automatically by your smart refrigerator, and there'll be a home delivery. The delivery person would get access to your home using a pre-authorized one-time only passcode and would put the groceries away. Now, what could possibly go wrong with that? Okay, I'm seeing way too many hands out there in the classroom. I mean, my first response to that would be, no way. No way anybody is getting access to my home, especially if I'm not there. If they want to show up when I'm there and I can watch them with a shotgun, that's something different. But it looks to me like they're just going to allow these delivery people to come into your home with a passcode. The implication is clear. While you're at work or at school, they're going to come on in and deliver the groceries. And yes, there are going to be problems with this. Things will disappear in a tight economy. That's inevitable. Criminals may sign up to be these delivery people for that very reason. Think these things through, people. Think these things through. We'll be right back after these commercials.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Extendivite, a 7-herb combination of garlic, cayenne, hawthorn, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Extendivite is designed to strengthen the heart and arteries and help the body heal itself. Doctors are not able to explain the improvements they are seeing in their patients' health who are taking Extendivite. People who once needed more pills are now taking less and getting better. Due to the unexplainable improvements in their patients' health, more doctors are calling to order Extendivite for themselves. Help Extendivite make your doctor a believer. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, interestingly enough, we're still seeing the corporate media try and soft pedal on some of these immigration problems in Europe. And I'm looking at the story that came out of BNP.org over in Great Britain. And it's basically reporting on how the Daily Mail and the Mirror took a story about how Muslim rape gangs have been preying on, drugging, gang raping, torturing, and selling young white girls for sex, and rewrote it to say it was Asian gangs, because we don't want to offend the Muslims, and we don't want to fan the anti-open borders sentiment here. But it is a distortion, because basically the Daily Mail and the Mirror have defamed an entire continent unjustly by saying that. Apparently over in Rome, a German woman was raped by somebody who appeared to be a refugee and was left tied to a pole totally naked. And she had to stand there until a passing taxi driver rescued her. Now the story, this is El Salvadorian illegal immigrant, 19, and his school friend, 17, acting on the orders of a girl, 13, raped her classmate for hours after kidnapping her, stuffing her a rag in her mouth, and driving her to a nearby apartment. Gee, isn't this open borders thing, this idea of George Soros, the one world government, isn't that turning out to be such a swell idea? Let's take a phone call from Wayne in West Virginia. Aloha, Wayne. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you just fine.
Good. One of the reasons I called was the thing about Trump and Kelly putting his hands on his face and his looking down. There's been a lot of talk about the speech, that he was upset about Trump's speech. I think why he was putting his hands in his face, as I observed, was because Trump was telling Korea our capabilities of what we could do to them. And in doing so, he's telling the whole world what weapons we have available. And I think Kelly was saying, oh my God, he's telling them what weapons we have, some of our secret weapons. And he's exposing and telling them what weapons we have by telling them what we can do to them. Your thoughts?
I did not see anything in Trump's speech that gave away any secrets about advanced weapon systems. Frankly, it came across as just bullying and bluster and chest thumping, because his description about what they were going to do, whether it was North Korea or Iran, was in very, very general terms, from which you could deduce nothing about America's weapons capability. And it could also equally be a bluff. If you look, after 16 years of war, our stockpiles are drawn down, our existing weapons are worn on out, the new weapons coming out of the military-industrial complex are overpriced junk. The American military is a hollow shell, and we may actually be in a bizarre situation where the U.S. government is out there trying to bluff other countries down. I mean, obviously the U.S. is in a position where they can go in and they can beat up on countries unable to defend themselves. But when you're talking about going up against a major peer power like Russia and China, or even North Korea, if they do have a nuclear ICBM, then it may be more about bluff and bluster. And there may be a time in the not very distant future where the U.S. forces do go up against a real enemy and come up real short and get their nose bloodied, which might actually be a good thing. And again, I want to point out how Russia's Iskander cruise missiles all hit their targets in Syria, whereas Donald Trump's Tomahawks, half of them missed the target completely, and those that did hit the airfield didn't hit the actual hardened targets they were aimed at. So it looks more and more like the invincibility of the U.S. military is more of an illusion than anything else. And again, if you look at the history of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, same thing there. Toward the end, the legions were stretched so thin, they really weren't an effective fighting force any longer. Wayne, thanks an awful lot. We got to let you go. Take a break for commercials.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate. I want to do just
and aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. We're going to go right to the phones here. Mateus in Canada, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Michael. I've been listening every day, but my work schedule has interfered from me calling in, so just been enjoying your shows this whole time. And I wanted to talk about the Trump speech and GMO vegetables.
Okay.
The Navy collision. So the Trump speech, that was just an insult.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you dropped out for a little while. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I'll just continue Trump's speech. Outrageous insult to all of our intelligence. U.S. has a non-interference policy. Other nations need to learn to respect sovereignty of neighbors. They even have the nerve to condemn other countries for supporting Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And like every third sentence was like a palm to forehead moment.
Yeah, it really was, and it's kind of interesting. The first 24 hours after the speech, everybody was out there saying, well, yes, he's the president of the United States, and it was a speech and everything, but as we got more and more into the week, more and more people seemed to be willing to come forward and say, you know, that speech was really horrible. And if you really think about it, Donald Trump was the only world leader up there except possibly Netanyahu talking about war on that podium. Everybody else was all out there about peace and let's get together and can't we all get along. And Trump's out there saying we're going to smash North Korea, genocide on all those people.
Yeah, it's a lot of mass murder.
Well, that's all war is mass murder wrapped in a pretty flag.
Yeah, Trump complimented all the players in World War to all the allies, even complimenting France, but doesn't compliment the number one player, which is Russia, who pulled the most weight, lost the most lives, and made the biggest difference.
Yeah, that was a notable omission there. I mean, let's face it, if Russia hadn't broken the back of the Nazi military machine defending Moscow, World War II in Europe could have had a much different outcome.
Oh, definitely. Hey, regarding the Navy collisions,
yes,
would this be a fair analogy? Like, if a world champ heavyweight got outsmarted and beat up by a 10-year-old girl, wouldn't that be a reasonable description of the power difference between a fully armed, on-patrol Navy war vessel and an unarmed cargo boat? And so, you know, if this happened, you wouldn't want to go, but mommy, she did it on purpose. She beat me up on purpose, mommy. You would want to pretend like, oh, it was my mistake. I tripped on my shoelaces. I fell down. I hit my head on the doorknob, right? So what is the U.S. Army doing? They should be going, oh, our bad. We tripped on our shoelaces. But of course we could have defended ourselves if we were trying to.
Well, they weren't really being attacked. They were being rammed. And again, we're talking about the U.S. Navy, not the U.S. Army. And certainly the Navy's high command are thinking they've got a problem out there. And by the way, it's not just the ship collisions. Apparently, Captain Owen Honors has been relieved of command of the USS Enterprise, the aircraft carrier, not the Starship. And apparently this guy was showing these very bizarre movies, supposedly as entertainment, and the videos had slurs against gays, scenes with simulated masturbation, sailors shown showering together, and the Navy High Command decided this represented a profound lack of good judgment and professionalism. And we're going to go into war with people this poorly trained, whether it's showing very questionable movies to your own crew or getting your ships rammed or ramming by ignoring the rules of right-of-way on the sea lanes of communication. It is obvious we have put these very expensive weapon platforms in the hands of crews that are not really equipped to handle them effectively.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that it's more damaging to the reputation of the Navy to admit that they could be rammed by a cargo vessel than for that. They should just say, oh, of course we couldn't be rammed by a cargo vessel who was doing it on purpose. The only reason this happened is because of gross negligence. That's actually looks better than admitting that they're so open to attack that even a cargo vessel could actually ram them on purpose. And
the cargo vessels did not ram them on purpose. Looking at the tracking information, the cargo vessels were just on a straight course. And here's another reason why so many of these crews on the USS Fitzgerald and the USS John S. McCain were removed from their positions. They didn't have the automated ship tracking system turned on that you're supposed to have on when you're in one of these commercial sea lanes. And so, I mean, they just screwed up from top to bottom. This was not a deliberate attack
by... They were defending themselves. They're not
defending themselves against the cargo ships.
They were saying that we're not at fault here because they rammed us. It's their fault.
Yeah,
they were using that argument, remember?
Yeah, they were trying to do that at the very, very beginning, and again, it was a ridiculous claim. First of all, those cargo ships and tankers are not very maneuverable. The idea that one of them could chase down and intercept an Arleigh Burke is ridiculous. The Arleigh Burkes can run circles around them, and that may have been what tempted the bridge crew, to try and get around the bow of these ships, even though those cargo tanker ships have the right of way. So it was just a major mess up, and it sends a very, very dangerous message that we have built these very expensive warships and airplanes, and many of them are in the hands of crews that really don't know how to handle them effectively and efficiently. That's scary. Because
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
just changing gears. One last thing, really quick. Remember in the EU they have the vegetables that all have to be the same size and shape.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to comment that is because they're trying to create an unfair playing field for the GMOs, which are all the size and shape. all the same size and shape. Anyways, thanks a lot, Mike. I'll let you go, and I'll enjoy continuing listening to your show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. Yeah, that's a very scary idea that we have these warships with all these complicated weapon systems, and the command crews are just not up to it. And even out here in the Pacific Fleet, they're admitting that because of allocation of money, and they've got all this money, but it's all being used to buy new weapons, and they've had to cut back on training. And as a result, they are giving these very expensive, very dangerous platforms to crews that just barely know how to do them. And the one that I cannot get my head around is how anybody on the bridge of one of these ships does not understand that cargo carriers and tankers have the right of way in the open ocean. That's just the rules. You have to know that if you're going to have your master's papers. So to happen once, maybe. Twice, that's a systemic problem. Alrighty, getting on back to immigration. We're coming up finally on the German election. And more people are coming on out and saying Germany cannot trust Merkel. She's being blamed for Brexit. She's being blamed for the disastrous immigration policy. And the German media is putting on out that Merkel's party has a comfortable lead going into the election, and Alternative for Deutschland is going to be in third place. They'll be a strong opponent. But here's the thing you need to keep in mind. Don't forget how all of our polls last year in the corporate media had Hillary well in the lead, and it didn't happen. And in the German polling, they're already saying that 20% of the people of Germany still have not made up their minds. And 20% is enough to swing this election all over the place. Somebody's even putting up Vote Putin for Chancellor posters. That's how much they dislike Angela Merkel. So this thing could still have a surprise outcome. And so, of course, they're getting ready to blame Russia. If Merkel loses the election, it was a Russian cyber attack because Russia was meddling in the U.S. and the French votes. Now, by the way, France has already come on out and said, no, they didn't find any evidence Russia had anything to do with the results of their elections. And here in the United States of America, they still have no evidence Russia had any influence, any tinkering into our voting machines. We had all these illegal immigrants voting for Hillary. We had all those people in Massachusetts driving up to New Hampshire to vote for Hillary. We had all these dead people voting for Hillary. We had all these precincts in which there were far more votes cast than there were actual voters, but nothing about Russia. So it looks like if there's an upset in Germany and Merkel loses, she's going to blame Vladimir Putin. How very Hillary of her. Now, Mel Brooks, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you who he's. Amazingly funny individual. Believe it or not, his wartime experience, he defused bombs. I guess that's maybe why he's got his bizarre sense of humor. But he was out there making a comment that our current politically correct society is the death of comedy. Because everybody takes things so seriously. You can't say anything because somebody's going to be offended. And he was saying, look at his 1974 film Blazing Saddles, which was this incredible hit. Because it basically ridiculed people who had these kinds of attitudes. But Brooks says Hollywood today would never greenlight anything like Blazing Saddles. They wouldn't dare to. And Brooks is saying our stupidly politically correct society is the death of comedy. And he's absolutely right. We're literally encouraging a society where everybody's going around looking for things to be offended by. And obviously, in a complicated world like this, if you're looking for things to be offended by, you will find them. Oh, I'm offended. I'm triggered. Oh, my God. Oh. Fine, go away. Go into your safe space, get your Play-Doh, and just shut the heck up here. Now, speaking of political correctness, parents in Arizona are very angry at an elementary school teacher. In fact, They're demanding she be fired because apparently she took it upon herself to rewrite the Declaration of Independence in a gender-neutral form, and then had her fourth grade students recite the new version of the Declaration of Independence. And I understand where this teacher is coming from, wanting to replace the word men with humans, but in the age when the Declaration of Independence was written, the word men was presumed to include women as well. But in any event, I think the people of Arizona are very upset that anybody is going to start tinkering with our founding documents. We know there's been a tremendous pushback against Common Core trying to rewrite the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And I think ultimately the schools need to be responsive to what the parents want. And we have lost that. Schools right now are back to that Prussian model. We will teach the children what makes the children useful to the state and the corporations. And you parents, you've got nothing to say about it. We were talking the other day about this situation where children, when you take your child to the doctor, they can now be taken away into a room without you where they can be questioned about whatever's going on in your home. Does your family have guns? Are they doing drugs? Now, this transgender issue is really heating up. And a lot of people are very concerned that a lot of young people are being convinced that they're transgender when they aren't, because they're being pushed that way. The American College of Pediatrics has just issued a statement saying transgenderism of children is child abuse. And they're saying they're seeing all these stories of parents who are treating their little boys as girls because somebody has told them, oh, your little boy is actually a little girl, try and raise him that way. Somebody sent in a story earlier today about how a teacher contacted their parents and said their son was obviously transgender and they needed to go to transgender counseling. Because the boy, when drawing pictures of himself, drew himself wearing a purple and yellow dress. As it turns out, it's a Lakers jersey, and even had the number 24 on it. And the teacher told the parents, you still have to take your child to transgender counseling, and if you don't, we're going to report you for abuse for forcing your child to be the gender that they aren't. I mean, this is just really... The pediatrics is right. The College of Pediatrics is right. This is child abuse. These kids are too young to even know what gender really is. They're trying to confuse them. They want a generation of people who don't even know what bathroom to use because they're easier to control and mold. And there's a downside. Look at the current generation of the liberal snowflakes that have been produced by all this political correctness. They're triggered by the least little thing. Are you going to put these people in uniform and send them into combat and expect to win? I don't think so. Look at all those people who were rioting all over America when Hillary lost the election. Should have gotten a squad of Spetsnaz to take care of them. Problem would have been solved in 24 hours. Now, apparently, there is a prophecy by David Meade that the end of the world is going to be tomorrow. And I tried to contact David Meade to interview him about his prophecy, but he said get back to him next week. The only reason I mention this is I actually encountered somebody when Claire and I were doing our errands yesterday. We went by this guy who, in all seriousness, was trying to convince these people sitting in an outdoor cafe, the end of the world is going to be on Saturday. The end of the world is going to be on Saturday. And I said, darn, I just bought new carpeting. And, of course, everybody cracked up, and he shot me this really, really dirty look. But one of these days, I really ought to write a book about my experience in Christian television, because our TV station was destroyed by one of these prophecies, because the station manager believed it and just collapsed the whole thing. It was a bizarre, bizarre experience. But apparently somebody in Orange County actually put this message out on the emergency broadcasting system into everybody's home. This is an emergency broadcasting system. The world is going to end on Saturday. and they're trying to say, well, it was obviously a mistake, blah, 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 and they're saying, no, it may have actually been somebody did it deliberately. Get the message out. The world is ending on Saturday. So we may or may not have a show this coming Monday. We'll let you know. Stay tuned.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap, but did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
Hey there. Quick question for you. Would you be okay with more energy, more endurance, thicker, healthier hair, a better mood, reduced appearance of wrinkles, improved sleep, improved blood pressure and cholesterol profiles, improved vision, improved memory? Okay then. Well now, have you heard of Nature's Youth RSF? It's from the anti-aging experts at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. See, at Nature's Youth, they understand exactly what it means to provide top quality health products. And Nature's Youth customers not only improve their health, they know they're also providing their body with the right nourishment to maintain that peak performance and fight the aging process. If health, wellness, and nutrition are what you desire, choose Nature's Youth RSF. I did. You see, you're going to get older. It's just up to you how you feel when you get there. Get started today. Nature's Youth RSF. Simple to use, simple to order. Go to nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And now apparently they're after Trump's cabinet for use of non-commercial flights. I mean, there isn't anything Trump can do that they're not going to attack him for, except, of course, going to war against, well, everybody here. I think they are really insane out there in California. I mean, I loved being in California when I lived and worked there, but I would never move back there. The California legislature has just passed a law to end the use of rifles in the rural areas of the state. And this, of course, is a big deal for people who like to hunt or target shoot. They're banning rifles. And if Jerry Brown signs this bill eliminates the ability to openly bear arms anywhere in the state of California. Now, residents with concealed carry permits still have the right to carry a handgun, but by the way, you have to have it unloaded. You're not allowed to have a loaded gun even if you have a concealed carry permit. So what good is that? You know, hang on, Mr. Rapist, let me load my gun before I shoot you. Meanwhile, over in Chicago, which is held up as the model of gun control for the entire country, they've had 500 murders so far this year. And along with high crime, murder rates in Baltimore, New Orleans, St. Louis, these are all gun-free cities and Democratic strongholds. Now, today's thought for the day that appears on my webpage, these are chosen completely randomly by the computer during the overnight update. And it's the actual text of the Miranda ruling. Now, you've probably heard the Miranda ruling. This is why police officers have to say, I have to read you your rights, you have the right to remain silent, and so forth and so on. But here's the actual ruling by the Supreme Court. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rule making or legislation that would abrogate them. Under that definition, any laws limiting your ability to invoke the Second Amendment violate the Miranda ruling. And yet the government is still out there. They're desperate to disarm you. They're shipping guns to the Mexican drug cartels and to ISIS and Al-Qaeda, but by golly, you'd better not have one. We don't trust the American law-abiding citizen with guns. We only trust drug dealers and terrorists with guns. And we'll give them guns at your expense, but you law-abiding Americans, you can't have guns. Boy, is there something screwy with that or what? Alrighty, getting on down here. Apparently, Apple's iPhone launch is not going well. They debuted the new iPhone 8s and the new iWatch, and nobody's showing up. Normally, when Apple has a new launch, the lines go around the block. 2 people showed up in China, barely a dozen in London. They may be waiting for the iPhone 10, which is not out just yet. We'll be back after station identification.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. the history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, hour number 3. And for those of you watching on BAM User, this gorgeous creature sitting next to me is the lovely Lady Claire, who likes to join us in hour number 3 every Friday with her unique perspective on the world. And so what is your first story?
Well, the first thing I need to share with our readers and listeners is that I am profoundly annoyed and disappointed with our government. What President Trump did at the UN was throw away any possibility of reaching some kind of an intelligent rapprochement with both North Korea and with Iran. And, I mean, it just, all I can say, Mike, and I think most of our readers and listeners will agree, this has been an armpit of a week for peace and social justice out there.
Well, basically Trump sent a message to the rest of the world that the U.S. government sees war as its best option right now.
Yeah.
And I think the rest of the world is definitely taking notice of that and wondering just how they're going to avoid the eventual wrath of the American empire.
Yeah, and instead of doing anything that could be considered in any way conciliatory, what is the next thing the United States military does? We've got a nuclear carrier conducting naval drills with Japan as North Korea, which it really didn't, is suspected of threatening an H-bomb test, which the ambassador never said, right?
The foreign minister was guessing. They asked him, what did Kim Jong-un mean by extreme measures or whatever the phrase was? And this is maybe a hydrogen bomb. He doesn't really know.
No.
And the corporate media just took it and ran with it, saying, North Korea's threatening an H-bomb over the Pacific.
Yeah, and I am looking at this hype. I am looking at this rush to war. And I did something last night that was kind of a litmus test for me. Now, I have loved The Daily Show over the years when Jon Stewart was its host. And when Trevor Noah got there, maybe not so much because of his constant pinging at Donald Trump as a candidate and as president. But I listened to him, and I listened to power, and I listened to passion, as he was talking, he and Lou Black were talking about the health care bill. And, but they were making real intelligent points. And I could listen for a while without feeling like I had to turn the channel. And to me, this means that I have come to a realization that we have been so betrayed, those of us who really believed that Donald Trump was going to make a difference. He has become absorbed, if you will, in the Borg of the military-industrial complex. And we're dealing with these president whisperers, and that would be Mattis, Kelly, and McMaster, who seem to be pointing him in a direction of war being the only way.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
We know that the CIA is lying to him. We know that Kelly is refusing to allow any information to reach the president that would interfere with that agenda. I mean, Dana Rohrabaugh, who's a member of the House of Representatives, is trying to get Julian Assange evidence that the DNC hack was an internal leak to Trump, and apparently Kelly is just absolutely refusing to let that happen. And it's almost asking a question, is Donald Trump being cut off from internet contact that goes directly outside? Is he cut off from his TV set? Of course, TV news is not reporting on Dana Rohrabaugh trying to reach him.
Oh, of course.
He has to get that on the internet. And for all we know, whatever internet Donald Trump has is being just as filtered as anything coming through, shall we say, Google or Facebook. We're going to take a phone call here right now. Jim in Florida, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I just wanted to tell you, you probably are already aware of this, but sometimes I try for a week or more to get online on your website and can't get through. I'll just hang up and listen to you, okay?
Okay, well, Jim...
Made somebody mad. I don't know.
Well, I make a lot of people mad, but, Jim, what you do is you go to this website, whatismyip.com, and you send me that number, because, unfortunately, the people who are attacking my website, they're using spoofed IPs, and occasionally they will hijack the IP of legitimate readers and jam them to get them in the filters. And so if you're a regular reader and you're not getting through to my website, go to whatismyip.com, send me that number, and I'll pull you out of the filters. And I wish there was a better solution, but right now we are under as heavy attack right now as we were just going into the election.
Yeah, it's been massive.
And I don't know if it's because something big is about to happen or they're just totally fed up with me and they're trying to shut me down. But
I find it incredible that of all the websites that talk about the things you do, you're the only one that gets assaulted this way.
Well, some of these other websites have better. They have, to be honest, more money, and they can afford better security than I can.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, you know, we're a two-person operation out here, running on spare change we find under the seat cushions and donations and stuff.
That's about it. Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And you know, we're trying to get a new website built here that can work and handshake with some of the more up-to-date security and filtering systems. But right now, all we have is the stuff I write myself.
Well, I think people are starting to figure out about the Clintons now. What do you think? We're not going to be bothered with them anymore, are we?
Well, Hillary's going to go on being an annoyance. I think Bill Clinton has finally decided he's ready for the rocking chair. But Hillary just cannot let go. She cannot let go of the fame. She's addicted to fame and adulation. And she's out there still trying to blame everybody for her election loss. And I would not be at all surprised if she is still trying to consider some way that she can get the election reversed and take over the Oval Office, because she's out there saying she wants to question the legitimacy of the 2016 election, even though she acknowledges there's no legal or constitutional way to do it. So what is she talking about? I know that Hillary is behind this push to say Russia helped Donald Trump, and if she can get him kicked out of office that way, then she might be thinking she's going to go to the Supreme Court and say, put me in because I really should have won the election. But at this point, I think Hillary is still planning and plotting and scheming to try and find a way into that White House. She hasn't given up.
Well, Lord help us, Mike.
Amen to that.
Bye-bye.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to do a quick little shout-out to our on-air affiliate who is just now rejoining our network. And what is your next story?
Well, the next story comes to us from Zero Hedge. And apparently China is getting a little bit more concerned because of that alleged statement about dropping a hydrogen bomb that North Korea really didn't make. And it's calling the situation a vicious circle where more missile tests will trigger more sanctions, and more sanctions will trigger more tests, again urging the double freeze solution, saying that the parties concerned need to respect each other's security concerns. And I have to tell you, I fully expect that either North Korea is going to haul off and test some kind of a bomb, or that the U.S. will create a false flag to make it appear that it has done so, and relatively soon.
See, here's the problem. The real North Korean threat is that they won't bow down to Emperor Trump.
Yes.
Kim Jong-un is standing up to the bully United States of America, and that's encouraging other countries to stand up to the bully America. And the problem is if the U.S. backs off of North Korea now, you're going to see a lot of these captive provinces start to break away, which was exactly what happened when Rome fell.
Right.
And yet if they go on forward and strike North Korea without North Korea having done anything, maybe the United States just thinks it's time to rule the rest of the world by terror. Do what we say or we'll nuke you. But that, of course, is going to run flat when China and Russia say, no, we're not going to go that way. The missiles are are flying.
Yeah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Yeah. And one thing that Kim Jong-un likes to do is to pair his firing of these missiles with national holidays. And he might decide to do a test at the next one, which is going to be 10 October. It's Party Foundation Day in North Korea. And I don't know if it's a day off, but it is a day celebrated. He might do it then. But I have to take a look at something that YouTube did recently that was thoroughly, amazingly idiotic relative to North Korea. And it was reported today at 38north.org, which is a program run by Duke University to track what North Korea is doing via satellite. And now, thanks to YouTube, North Korea has just become even more opaque. And what this means, YouTube's decision to delete North Korean YouTube channels has served to highlight the sometimes unintended consequences of sanctions and the absolute power enjoyed by Internet companies over their users. Now, what's happened, Mike? In doing so, the company has cut off a vital supply of videos used by open source researchers, which means there is now less visibility into what's happening in North Korea.
Well, see, that was the problem because people were looking at the videos coming out of North Korea and realizing it's not this terrible, horrible place to live that the media has been saying. And we posted some of those videos on our website as well.
I know.
And so what YouTube has done is basically brought back the Soviet Iron Curtain.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to see any information coming from the other side. You will only see what we're going to tell you about them, and you will believe it. And that's exactly what's going on. Because we were always finding these videos of North Korea. The people are happy. They're proud of their government. They just want to be left alone. They don't want to see the Korean War come back because they remember how terrible it was. And that, I think, is the real reason that YouTube shut all these channels down, because they don't want Americans to take a look into the eyes of the intended enemy and discover that they're just like us.
They're human.
They're human beings. As John F. Kennedy said, we all walk on the same earth. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. And that is an image that is not conducive to the demonization of the intended target.
No. I'd like to go now to another story that's not getting very well represented in the Western press. And apparently the Indian and Pakistani armies are holding cross-border talks amid some very deadly shelling. And this has been this last week, heavy cross-border shelling between India and Pakistani forces, and the directors general of both operations, of both armies, held a meeting today. Unfortunately, the meeting just devolved into more accusation of violating the ceasefire. Pakistan alleged that shelling by Indian troops resulted in the deaths of 6 Pakistani civilians and injured 30. And the Indian side vehemently denied having deliberately fired at civilians. And it's just a real mess. And so I would like to reach out to someone who I think is a real gentleman and an adult in the room of geopolitics. Sergei Lavrov, I know you're desperately trying to get North Korea and the U.S. out of each other's faces, but if you could spare a moment, please, could you please talk with India and Pakistan, which are both nuclear-armed countries, out of creating mutually assured destruction by using such weapons against each other? Because, sir, if the excrement hits the ventilation shaft here at warp speed, we are looking at the nightmare scenario of India fighting with its ally, the United States, which upped its military relations with India last year against Pakistan and potentially China. Thank you.
And we know the United States would like to find a reason to have a war with China.
Yeah. And talking about people not backing down, there was a very interesting article, again from Zero Hedge. We will not seek permission. Defiant Iran unveils new ballistic missile. And the way that this is bagged, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani delivered another snub to the Trump administration on Friday when he said that Iran would continue its missile program in defiance of U.S. sanctions. And to underscore the determination, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard unveiled its newest long-range ballistic missile during a military parade in Tehran. The new missile that was introduced at the parade is capable of reaching much of the Middle East, including Israel, with a range of 1,200 miles. It's also capable of carrying several warheads. The parade in Tehran commemorated the 1980s Iraq-Iran war, and guess who the U.S. was sponsoring back then?
Iraq.
Yeah. Though Iran has long boasted of having missiles in the same range in its arsenal, this was the first time that the new Khorramshahr missile was displayed in public, the AP reported, adding that in February, Iran test-fired the same medium-range type of missile, prompting Trump to say that the United States is putting Trump on notice. Well, Mike, with the U.S., Israel, and Saudi Arabia collectively breathing down Iran's neck in terms of screaming regime change at Tehran, if you were Rouhani, wouldn't you be looking at producing the best possible weapons?
Of course I would.
As a deterrent to regime change? Hello?
Of course I would.
Logic,
do you realize the utter ridiculousness of the U.S. position? You must disarm so that it's easier for us to invade you.
Yeah.
Because that's inevitably what happens. And again, Iran is looking at the lessons of Iraq, Libya, and Syria. So is North Korea. And the lesson is very clear. No matter what you surrender, no matter what concessions you make, you're still going to get invaded.
Yeah.
Nobody can trust anything the U.S. government is saying, and now that reality is coming back to haunt U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah,
Nobody
absolutely.
wants to make a deal with the United States. Nobody believes the United States when they say, well, if you just give up your nukes, all will be well.
Right.
And again, look at the situation in Iran. Iran gave up their nuclear weapon program. They shipped their enriched uranium over to Russia, and now the U.S. is back there saying, well, we're going to sanction you unless... Now you have to give up your missiles.
Yeah.
Your long-range missiles. Then it'll be the medium-range missiles. Then it'll be the short-range missiles. Now you got to give up your pea shooters.
I hear you.
So, of course, Iran is going to dig in their feet at this point.
Yeah. This is something that... This is from the Department of You really cannot make this stuff up. Florida residents are warned now that they're going to be ticketed for hurricane-damaged homes. So at the time when South Floridians rocked by Hurricane Irma was still surveying the damage to their properties, the county of Miami-Dade apparently thought it appropriate to begin handing out safety notices. Celso Perez told local TV station that he, his family, and his neighbors were starting to clear fallen trees from the streets after the storm passed through at 9 in the morning on Monday. Hours later, in the afternoon, he got a visit from the county. And he said, wow, we thought that he was here to help us or offer some kind of assistance with the trees. Maybe he was going to bring us some ice or something, Perez told the TV station. Instead, the official slapped a safety notice on the only part of Perez fence that was still standing. And, the guy took it well, but unbelievable. I laughed, he said. I thought he was just kidding. You're just kidding, right? We just had a hurricane 6 hours ago. No, I'm not kidding. I have to cite you for this. I just laughed. Okay, whatever. Knock yourself out. I cannot believe that Miami-Dade, Florida could possibly be this tone deaf. But the other part of the equation is he was probably ordered to write as many tickets for this sort of thing as humanly possible to fill the county's coffers on the backs of storm-stricken survivors. I mean, Mike, that's darned evil.
I would certainly think that this individual could be put to better use elsewhere.
Yeah, like maybe helping people and as the gentleman said, maybe clearing the trees or doing something or interacting in a positive
something
way.
Actually useful.
Yeah, And I'd like to bop back over to Iran for a moment. This can't be so secret if it's published on a blog, but the White House is secretly planning for confrontation with Iran.
Don't tell anybody.
No, but shh, keep that secret safe just with what really happened. Apparently there are, they don't quote who these guys are, current and former U.S. officials who say that the U.S. is looking at more hostile responses to Iran's forces, its proxy armies in Iraq and Syria, and its support for militant groups. According to the sources, the current proposal was drafted by none other than Defense Secretary Jim Mad Dog Mattis, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, National Security Advisor McMaster, and several other top officials before it was presented to President Trump at a National Security Council meeting on 9 September. And apparently the proposal will ultimately be made public before the end of this month. And they requested anonymity because it hadn't quite been finalized. And what they're doing, there is no way this is not going to lead to war with both Russia and Iran, Mike.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's what they want. All right, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Do you or someone you know suffer from chest pain, blood pressure, cholesterol, or irregular heartbeat? Are you looking for a more natural solution to overcome these health challenges? You hear the ads all the time. If this stuff's so good, why doesn't my doctor prescribe it? That's easy. Doctors are not trained in natural medicine. Extendivite Heart Tonic does want you to be as healthy as you can be, and it really works. Take Extendivite for 6 months and your doctor will say, I don't know what you're doing, but don't stop. It's working for you. Get the dependability of Extendivite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And Claire, take it away.
I wanted to go back to this issue of the U.S. getting more aggressive against Iran. And again, reiterating that through the years, Russian military and civilian leadership have said, if Iran gets invaded, we're going to fight in behalf of Iran. And my sense, Mike, is that it is a question of when and not if, unfortunately, listening to the intense demonization of Iran by President Trump at the UN this last week. He could perhaps find a way for Iranians to be perceived as having struck first, perhaps tricking them into attacking a nearby U.S. outpost in the Middle East, just as FDR did with the Japanese attack at Pearl Harbor, Oahu, to whip up collective American animosity and desire for revenge against them. And there's a wonderful article I linked to, Pearl Harbor attack. Hawaii was surprised, but FDR was not.
But see, it's a very different world today here, and we need to keep that in mind. We're all aware that we got lied to about Saddam's nuclear weapons. Mm-hmm. We're all aware of all the times that the U.S. government has used hoaxes and frauds and deceptions and false flags to get us into war. Torpedoes in the Gulf of Tonkin, Spanish mine in Havana Harbor, Lusitania, smuggling weapons to Great Britain and sent into an area where they knew the German U-boats were going to find it. 9/11 itself, Saddam's nuclear weapons, Assad's sarin gas, and so forth and so on. The fact of the matter is that I think if there is a new major explosion someplace, just as was the case with 9/11, most people are going to say, I think our government did this to get a war going. Because I know certainly when 9/11 happened, that was my first thought. This is the U.S. government starting a war. And pretty much everybody I knew and talked to that day, they said the same thing. This feels like the government's trying to goad us into a war.
Yeah.
So if they try it again, they may not be believed. And if Israel drives us into a war with Iran and we wind up losing it, we get our nose bloodied, that might actually be a good thing in that the American people would say to our government, it is time to stop listening to Israel because it's harming our country.
I agree with you, and therefore I have a very strong caution I would like to offer President Trump about such a war in Iran in one specific area. Both Israel and Saudi Arabia have been cheerleading for regime change in Tehran for a long time. But they fully expect, Mike, that the costs borne from such a war will be primarily in American blood and American money.
Well, because American blood is cheap, just like American money.
And if there was ever a time for not obliging his twin BFFs in the Middle East, that would be Bibi Netanyahu and Prince Salman, by starting this potentially catastrophic war in the Middle East, that's now.
Well, unfortunately, the problem is it's not just Benjamin Netanyahu and Salman.
Yeah.
It's McCain and Lindsey Graham and all the war hawks and all those defense contractors who are thinking any war anywhere is good business for us. And the defense stocks are going through the roof. Everybody knows a major war is coming.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and by the way, as of Monday, happy birthday, CIA, which has done terrible things over 70 years, but it is actually the date of the birth of that organization. And the other thing is, and this comes to us again from Zero Hedge, the U.S. government has a known history of using false flags. And Tyler Durden, who's someone whose writing I like a lot, when it comes to 9/11, there are two groups of people, those who don't know exactly what happened and those who orchestrated it. And, it's very true. But this is something, as you said, that the U.S. is doing time and time and time again.
That's
using the false flags.
That's how the U.S. government controls us.
Yeah.
Lies, fraud, and deception. The American people are the most lied to people on the face of planet Earth. And we all need to understand and accept that in order to begin the process of breaking free from our slave chains made out of lies.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in looking at the entire chain of events that's going on geopolitically right now, the only thing I can think of is that archetypal dream of watching a slow-mo train wreck where the trains are headed on the same track in the opposite direction, and there's not a doggone thing you can do.
Been there, done that. All right, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
It's time for you to have your own custom smartphone app for your business and pay way less than you can imagine. Introducing the I Can Get To Silent Salesman mobile marketing app, a global mobile marketing and communication tool for your business. Go to appsapart.com and learn how you could earn up to $36,351 or more per month just by inviting 2 people or less into a $14.95 per month program. Go to appsapart.com and be sure to watch the video at the top of the site and listen to the audio message from the CEO near the bottom. This is something you won't want to miss. Go to appsapart.com now or call 646-860-9540. That's 646-860-9540. Get the I Can Get 2. That's ICANGET, the number 2, Silent Salesman app at appsapart.com. That's APPSAPART.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap, but did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And before we go back to Claire here, there's a story that's breaking right now. And I want to preface it by pointing out how President Trump's Commission on Election Integrity is starting to really find a lot about what's been going on in last year's election. They've been apprised of what happened up in New Hampshire, where all 6,000 people from Massachusetts drove up into New Hampshire, took advantage of the same-day registration rule, showed their Massachusetts driver's license and said, we just moved here, and they voted for Hillary. And a follow-up investigation all these months later showed none of these people had applied for a New Hampshire state driver's license, proving they didn't really move up there. They just lied. Then we have all the illegal immigrants who were voting, the dead people who were voting, all kinds of games played with ballots disappearing and so forth. And apparently the deep state, if you will, is trying to get ahead of this. There was a story just now on Fox News on how the Department of Homeland Security has informed 21 states that they have found indications that last year's election was hacked, and of course, inevitably, we think Russia did it. Well, let me tell you why that is not likely. First of all, how would Russia, from all the way over on their side of the planet, gain access to voting machines which are not on the Internet? And second of all, given that all the documented election fraud that's been found so far favored Hillary Clinton, are you trying to tell us that Putin wanted Hillary to win, and if so, he failed miserably? But this is just another demonization. They're just going to keep piling it on. Russia did this. Russia did that. Russia's evil. Putin passes wind in the elevators. And again, they're trying to get ahead of the growing realization of the American people that our elections are, in fact, very dishonest. They're very crooked. The election fraud originated right here in the United States of America, and they're desperate to make you think that it was all Russia's fault.
Yes, it's pretty grim. When you see that level of demonization, you know that there is an actual practical something that the deep state wants to do.
Well, you know, if they don't want a hot war with Russia, they want a new Cold War. And take it from those of us who were alive back during the last one. The demonization was intense. I remember when I was in grade school, and we had a social studies textbook, Our American Heritage, and I remember it vividly because it had a painting of a steamboat on the front cover. And they had all this stuff in there about the Soviet Union and how terrible things were and how, you know, it was a one-party system and vote yes or else, and just laying it on really, really thick. And I grew up buying into all that crud that was fed to me in school, where I thought Russia, the Soviets were just horrible, terrible people. And then I finally started meeting some in connection with my work, both at SIGGRAPH and NASA. They're just like us. I remember one time when I was in Frankfurt, Germany, I got snowed in and spent a couple of hours with an Aeroflot crew. And except for one guy who I presume was the Zampolit, they were nice people, and I got a good they spoke excellent English, which is the international language of air travel. And I remember the captain of the flight. His son wanted to be a cosmonaut, and I had a bunch of my old NASA pins with me, and I gave them to the captain. I said, "You give them to your son." And we just got along famously, and they're wonderful people. And you need to realize it's part of that going to war, that you're going to demonize the enemy and try and convince everybody that there is no choice but sending your children out to be killed and crippled to deal with this enemy, or in the case of a Cold War, that we're sorry we can't give you modern highways and safe dams and safe food and safe drugs. We have to spend all of our money building all of these weapons to deter Russian aggression. And again, during that entire Cold War period, Russia never tried to attack the United States of America. The only time we came close was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Right. So here's your homework for the weekend. Get out Google Earth, go over to Arizona, and you look at that boneyard, and you see just how huge it is. And it's just full of all of these warplanes and bombers and helicopters and everything else that were built during the last Cold War that are just sitting there corroding away in the desert.
Mike, what is the name of this specific place?
It's called the Boneyard.
The Boneyard. So
the Boneyard.
That's how they look it up on Google, because I didn't know.
Yeah, and you just and you find it in Google. It's just this gigantic field filled with all these relics of the last Cold War that our parents' generation had to pay for, rather than better schools and better hospitals and better roads and so forth. And they're trying to do it again. When the Soviet Union fell, the U.S. government was just panicked out of their mind. Without an enemy to wag at you, you were going to demand that your tax money be spent on you. You were going to demand that your tax money be spent on your children, and on infrastructure, and on really things to make this country better. And the military-industrial complex absolutely cannot stand that. They want all the money. And no matter how much they get, they have to have more. And it's just wasted because they're on this power trip. That volume of money is addictive. And they're money junkies with uniforms is basically what they are.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, it's feeling like something is very close to happening in terms of some sort of military confrontation.
It really does, and again, I want to caution everybody, my read of the situation, given 16 years of war, the stockpiles are drawn down, They're deploying bombs and ammunition like there's no tomorrow. Our existing weapons are worn out. They're not designed to last a long time because the models show that most of these combat platforms don't survive very long when they're in real combat. So they're not built to last that long. That's why you'll have fighter airplanes that their life expectancy is really very short because they figure most of them are going to be shot down before they reach that. Mm-hmm. And so after 16 years, they're all worn out. I mean, look at how fast the tanks were wearing out in Iraq because the filters weren't able to keep the sand out of the engines. Yeah. And the new weapons that are coming off from the military-industrial complex, they're junk. They're expensive junk. They're very costly to buy, very costly to own and maintain. And in any war, the side that runs out of money first is the side that loses.
Yep.
And so I do not think that if we get into a war with Russia and China, the U.S. is not going to be able to win it, either conventionally or even nuclear. But then nobody wins a nuclear war except the bankers.
Yes, absolutely. And what we've noticed recently with the Russian assistance of the Syrian government is that their weapons are very much in demand because they're field tested and they do exactly what they're supposed to do.
Exactly, and they're less expensive.
Yeah, and the Russians and the Chinese are getting far more bang for their buck than is the U.S. government. And my perfect example of this is I present you with the F-35.
Absolutely.
The problems with this thing are catastrophic. They're probably not even going to be fixed by the end of 2018. What was Lockheed thinking?
Well, Lockheed was thinking cost plus contract. We're going to make a huge amount of money. And I think a lot of these programs were actually started before anybody really thought there was going to be a real war to fight. Harry Truman had to deal with exactly the same thing in the years leading up to World War II. It's what made him so popular with the American people, is he was going around to all these military contractors who were soaking the taxpayer for huge amounts of money and delivering nothing of any real usability. And he basically whipped them into shape. And we need a new Harry Truman right now to deal with that. But right now, weapons development in the United States, like everything else in the United States, it's just another racket to make money. Russia and China, when they're building weapons, their goal is to make a cost-effective, efficient weapon. And that's why they're getting more bang for their buck than the United States could ever hope to do. The fact that the United States spends so much more of your money on weapons than any other country, more than the next 20 combined, most of whom are supposed to be allies, does not guarantee that we will prevail when you look at what's been happening with the Zumwalt self-destroyer and its drivetrain problems, the Independence and Freedom class littoral combat ships. The Navy is now admitting they can't be made to work the way they were supposed to, between corrosion problems, drivetrain problems, the failure of the modular system for deployment, and they're already saying we're going to cancel this and we've got a whole new program we're going to go on to and we promise it'll be good. And then we're giving these ships and platforms to crews who are obviously not adequately trained to fight these platforms efficiently.
Yeah.
And again, so many of the same problems we saw with the former Soviet Union. Anyway, your next story. Okay. I've ranted about this enough. World War III is a bad idea.
I think
bad
so.
Idea.
Yeah.
Bad idea. Bad idea.
Definitely. This article comes to us from antiwar.com, which again is a very sober and responsible blog. Trump is conflating Pyongyang with Tehran. The results could be catastrophic. President Trump took a page out of the George Bush playbook at his UN address on Tuesday to justify confrontation with Iran, conflate it with Pyongyang. To secure confrontation with North Korea, conflate it with Tehran. This is apparently the latest gimmick in Trump's desperate attempts to kill the nuclear deal with Iran. By focusing on Tehran's objectionable non-nuclear policies and false claims of the unevenness of the Iran deal, Trump is arguing that sustaining the international accord can no longer be justified since it no longer addresses the totality of America's concerns with Iran. Thank you, Derek.
It never will.
Yeah.
And again, that's the whole idea of treaty creep. No matter what deal is made, the U.S. is always going to have another concern. We're concerned about your long-range missiles. Now we're concerned about your short-range missiles.
Yeah.
Now we're concerned, about your rifles and your tanks, and you have to give all of those up.
And what I'm seeing, Mike, in Trump's conflating Iran with North Korea and Russia, and we're getting a lot of that connection with various corporate prostitute stories. What I see is an arc of desperate geopolitical insanity from this administration, stretching from Asia all the way through the Middle East and over to Russia. And why? Because the U.S. economy is not in very good shape. Some say it's about to tank, and the U.S. government wants to have something or someone to blame for that happening, and attempt to misdirect Americans from it with a world war.
Because that's what worked the last two times. Crash of 1907, World War I. Crash of 1929, World War II. Crash of 2008. Here we are on the brink.
And there is a very serious as a heart attack political analyst, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who has recently claimed that the U.S. government is looking to nuke both Russia and China. Now, Mike, this guy is not some raving lunatic screaming that the sky is falling. He is an accomplished author, politician, and lecturer, and as his bio states, he's an economist and a nationally syndicated columnist for Creators. He served as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury in the Reagan administration. He is a former editor and columnist for the Wall Street Journal, Businessweek, Scripps, Harvard News Service. He is a graduate of Georgia Tech, and he holds a Ph.D. from University of Virginia, did work at Oxford, and was a member of Merton College. So when this guy, who to me has street cred and is no intellectual slouch, tells us, as he did back in April, that the U.S. government is getting ready to militarily knock the heck out of Russia and China to prevent the rise of the ruble and the yuan in international business trade, I would say that, we probably should take him at his word.
And unfortunately, he's right.
Yeah.
We've heard it from other sources as well.
Yeah.
There are people in Washington, D.C. who are absolutely convinced that we can nuke Russia and China and cause so much damage, they'll be afraid to strike back at us out of fear that our second strike will do even more. Well, that is one heck of a gamble to be taking.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you're Russia or China and most of your country has just been destroyed, there frankly isn't all that much to risk with that retaliatory strike.
What have you got to lose?
Yeah. Now remember, for all the money that was borrowed and spent on Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, and it was huge, vast sums of money, the Star Wars Initiative is what took the United States from being the world's greatest creditor nation to the world's largest debtor nation over the 12 years of Reagan-Bush. That's what happened. And none of those anti-missile systems they came up with work. And even worse, today, Russia's latest MIRVs, and presumably China's, are maneuverable. They don't follow a predictable ballistic inbound path, which is what THAAD is built around, the Aegis missile defense. They're all built around this assumption that the incoming target in terminal phase is following a predictable ballistic path. That doesn't work anymore. The Russian warheads bob and weave, they go up and down, they dipsy-doodle, they corkscrew, and that renders completely obsolete all of America's anti-missile defense systems.
That's a little scary to
yes,
contemplate. Tillerson also has made the remark that Iran is technically sticking to the P5+1, but not the spirit. So as a professional basketball player might observe, the Trump administration has no game against Iran, which is why it is trying to demonize the Iranian government over things that were never part of the P5+1 agreement in the first place. And the other thing that President Trump has to look at, he's dealing with a very war-weary and war-cynical citizenry who are looking on the epic fails of U.S. foreign policy represented by the usual suspects. Of real or attempted regime change, we're talking Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, and Libya, and seriously doubt that maybe this is the right time to get into another military misadventure with anybody. And I've stated this before on the show. I'm a Christian, and I'm a pacifist activist, constantly exhorting the federal government to attempt to resolve this country's geopolitical differences with meaningful negotiations rather than wars. And I would really like to ask President Trump to stay the course of the P5+1, at least for now.
Well, you got a lot of company. I mean, Bernie Sanders is saying stick with the deal.
Yeah.
China's saying stick with the deal. Putin's saying stick with the deal. Most of the EU is saying stick with the deal. France apparently has gone the other way. But in the end, the real damage is if Trump pulls out of the Iran deal. And Iran has already drawn a hard line. They're saying there will be no renegotiation because it's all going to be against us. And we get nothing back. So we're either keeping the current deal, or it's gone completely, and you'll have to live with the repercussions. And as so many people have sounded the warning, credibility of the U.S. government is already in the Al-Qaeda. If Trump pulls that Iran deal, then North Korea is never, ever going to come to the bargaining table. We'll be right back with the last segment of our program.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Final segment of our Pauhana Friday program. And Fox News is already recycling the story about how the Department of Homeland Security has notified 21 states that they have found indications that somebody was trying to hack the 2016 election. We think it may have been Russia. Interestingly enough, a lot of the states have come on out and said, why did you wait until now to tell us this? Which sort of dovetails with my suggestion that this is just more propaganda against Russia, trying to draw the attention away from the fact that all of the election fraud documented so far favored Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely is a war between those of us who are trying to tell the truth and the liars. And the liars want to get back in control. They want to get you back to where you believe the lies, that you believe as you're told to believe, because that way you're easier to control and send off to be killed and crippled in wars of conquest, or to pay the bills thereof. Do you have another story you want to share with us?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Russia has warned that it will retaliate against U.S. forces in Syria if provoked. Now, according to the Pentagon, U.S. and Russian generals have actually held a face-to-face meeting this week about trying to avoid accidental conflict within Syria, with both sides are finding their forces increasingly in close proximity and with contrary agendas. According to spokesman Colonel Ryan Dillon, both sides laid down maps and graphics suggesting an unusual increase in information sharing between the two sides. This comes amid warnings from Russia that they are prepared to retaliate against U.S. troops if provoked. And it's not a theoretical problem. Russian officials warned that twice in recent days their troops have come under fire from U.S.-backed Kurdish forces, including a time when mortars were fired at them from a position held by U.S. troops. Okay.
Now, those U.S. troops are supposed to be there to lend medical assistance only, and yet obviously they're engaged in combat.
Yeah. If I were a U.S. military CO on the ground in Syria, I would take the Russians at their word on this. The Russian military, in concert with Syrian forces, have pretty much retaken most of the country held under ISIS. If a sane U.S. military commander or commander-in-chief is thinking, there can be little realistic hope of regime change in Damascus at this point, unless the U.S. government decides it's worth to be fighting both the Russians and the Syrian forces on the ground. And most likely we do not have and can't probably get there the number of actual troops it would take to do this.
No, at this point, I think out of sheer desperation, I mean, they're already talking about a decap strike on Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
They're probably thinking decap strike on Assad, and just pile on the cruise missiles or ballistic missiles or whatever it's going to take to get Assad, and then say, well, you know, the issue is now over. It's time for a new government in Syria, and we have one here packaged and ready to go. I'm sensing desperation from the American war machine to get this thing going. And desperate people take desperate chances and very often make really stupid mistakes. And on that thought, there's the music. Time for Claire and I to get on out of here and get something useful done. Have a really good weekend. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. He's got a lot of interesting stuff to share with you. We'll be back on Monday, I hope, on the Republic Broadcasting Network. Have a good weekend. Aloha, America.